Welcome to Larne in Northern Ireland for some world-class athletics. The MEA Antrim Coast Half Marathon is expected to be one of the fastest races in the world this year. This event has been designated an elite event by World Athletics, and it's a stunning course which takes in some spectacular scenery and some famous landmarks along the way. Delighted to say I'm joined by James McElroy, the organiser of this fabulous event in Larne. What can we expect today?
Well, hopefully, Stephen, firstly, welcome everybody. It's great to have you all in Larne, the Antrim coast. We're hoping for a fast race, so it's more of the same of last year. We've got the same protagonists back for 2022, so we have Yulum, we've got Jamal Yimmer, both last year's winners. We've got better conditions, we believe. We've got a very fast course, so let's wait and see.
Yeah, we have two races today. We've obviously got the elite race first, as you alluded to, and then over 6,000 runners in a mass start race at 11 o'clock this morning.
Yeah, so we've got the mass start actually just starting right behind us, the second race of the day at 11 o'clock. So it's I think there's 20 countries. So there's people from all around the world running today, so it's going to be a great atmosphere.
Well, we're live across the UK today on the BBC iPlayer. We're live across the world on the BBC Sport website. So a very good morning to all of you, wherever you are watching. As James was saying there, a world record was broken at this event last year and then unfortunately taken away. Here's a reminder of what happened.
This young lady is going to have some career. Young lady is going to have some career ahead of her. 22 years of age.
Yes,
and a new world record.
As she crosses the line in 63.43, a new world record set here in Larne this morning in the Antrim Coast Half Marathon.
Get in there.
To Ethiopia's Yulum, superb.
Hawks Ross Skilton there, and she's just exhausted. Very, very confident all week, Nigel, and she's waiting for it. First woman ever to break 64.
Well, what a fantastic race. I don't think she can believe what she's achieved. Tears are flowing. The emotion has just hit home as to what this young lady has achieved.
Well, Nigel, I said last week, whenever Northern Ireland does a sports event, a major sporting event, they always hit home, and I think we've done that today.
Well, there were fabulous scenes last year when we thought Yulum had broken the world record. But James, what happened after the event?
Well, I don't want to blame COVID, but it certainly was a little bit to do with it. Usually you would have the course measured and then re-ratified before if you think there's going to be a world record. Unfortunately, getting an international course measure with flights, it proved too difficult. So that's why we had to do the lag. It was measured after the course, and consequently it was 54 metres short. So it went from the fastest race in the world to the shortest. But we're all ratified this year. We've got Yulum back, we've got Yimmer back. The pace, they've set very, very fast paces in both races. So certainly they'll be ahead of where they were last year at 10k, and then we just have to wait and see.
I mean, fair play to her for coming back after the controversy of last year. But as you say, the course has been ratified, and possibly a world record today. She's in fabulous form this year.
Well, she is. She's come into the race with a world record. She smashed the 10,000 metres on the road in France, and then she ran a world best, breaking Paula's debut marathon of 2:17:23 in Hamburg. So, let's hope things come in threes. But she's running very, very strong. Spoke to her this morning when usually there's a little bit of tension in the breakfast table, but she was all smiles and waves when everybody else was a little bit tense. So she's relaxed.
And conditions today a little bit windy here on the coast road.
Yeah, well, it's a 6 mile an hour wind. I think last year with 12 mile an hour wind. So it's not drastic. It certainly isn't drastic, but it's behind them in the way when they turn at Ballygally. It's behind them the last 5 miles. So hopefully that'll push them home.
So tell us just a little bit about this course and how it kind of is received in world athletics.
Well, it makes my job easier getting world-class runners, which we've got this year again. The elevation's just legal, so we're allowed a 21 metre tolerance between start and finish in elevation. We're 20 metres, So it's bang on the money in that respect. So we're just, it's very, very fast.
Well, we're set for what we hope will be a thrilling elite race this morning, and it's time to join our commentary team of Nigel Ringland, Kevin English and Joe Pavey.
Yes, a very good morning. Thank you to Stephen and to James. I have to say I've never seen the east coast of Northern Ireland look so beautiful on this gorgeous August morning, as we look forward to what will hopefully be two really great races here in the Antrim Coast Half Marathon. I'm Nigel Ringland. I'm going to be your commentator this morning, but in the commentary box we have a plethora of talent to keep us all going this morning as we look at the elite men's start race. And we can see it's led there by last year's winner Yamal Yima from Ethiopia, and it's good to see so many guys back from last year. Tesh Fahoun, Alkanu there as well, Shadrach Kimmening, who produced such a great race in the men's side of things last year. And then a little further down, great to see Callum Hawkins back again. We'll talk about him shortly as well. And England's Mark Scott, who I think this is his third trip here to the half marathon. And we look forward to seeing Mark race this morning fresh from the European Championships in Munich last week. A little further down, you see Derek Hawkins, that's Callum's brother, as well in the race this morning, and a really good turnout from the home nations as well as the Republic of Ireland here this morning. Now with me, as I say, in the commentary box, we're pleased to have Olympians galore here this morning as well. Scott Overall is here. We're going to chat to Scott in a moment about the men's race. And I'm so pleased to say that Joe Pavey is with me this morning. I'm going to embarrass Joe a little because I first saw Joe run live at the Commonwealth Games in 2002 in the 10,000 metres in Manchester. And I'll say one of my favourite athletes. So this is actually a little bit, I am embarrassing you now, but this is great to have Joe with me here this morning. We're going to be looking after the women's race as well when it gets underway. As we continue to look down the start list of the men's race, and also who's going to, the man that keeps me right, he'll be doing all the timings and looking after everything this morning is of course Kevin English, and it's great to have you guys all here this morning. Kevin, if we come to you first, as we say we look down continue to look down the men's start list. What can we expect this morning? Because the conditions out there is a little breezy, but the conditions really couldn't be better.
Yeah, I think the conditions are slightly better than last year. The wind seems to have stayed down a little bit. As you say, in regards to field, we have most of the guys and girls coming back from last year, and we've added a few top names to the list as well.
Yeah, we're expecting the men's race to be won in the roundabouts just over 60 minutes.
We'd like to see under 60, I think, today.
Yep, with the conditions out there. I think we're going to see the women's start list as a few of the top names are being introduced at the starting line, and of course the big draw here this morning is Ulam Zarif Yulaw. As we start to look at the women's start list, last year, of course, Joe, she thought she'd broken that half marathon world record, and only to find out, of course, the course was 54 metres too short, so the record obviously couldn't be ratified. But for Ulam Zarif, you know, this morning we think she's in good shape. We think she could run fast again.
Yeah, it was so impressive watching her last year. It was such an amazing performance. And this year, if anything, it's expected she's in even better shape. She's already broken the world record for the 10K on the road. She did the fastest ever debut marathon for a female athlete this year. And she's up for trying to break that world record. And she's an awesome athlete. And it's going to be exciting to see. Obviously, there's other strong runners. We've got the likes of Gamchu, got Beatrice Mutai. And obviously local favourites, Emma Mitchell and Finola Ross, who ran awesomely last year. So on they're off.
Yes, the Antrim Coast Half Marathon for 2022. The elite race is off and running. And we can expect, I guess, some strong pacemaking, obviously, this morning. And Scott, what the men's race especially, well, if we focus on the men just for the moment, the course has changed slightly since last year. We expect it actually to be even faster. The little loop around the harbour has been taken out. And so from the point of view of a very fast first 5K here,
Yeah, the first sort of 5K is as you're looking at it now, it's downhill slightly, and the runners go into the town. And as you said, they've taken out that out and back around the harbour, so it makes it a lot faster there. And yeah, you've got Bethwell pacing the men's race there, and he's a 3:30 1500 metre guy, so he's going to do a good job there. So expecting some fast times from the men, and also it's great to see Callum Hawkins back racing, and I'm sure Mark Scott will be up there too.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the top British contenders in the field this morning. Mark obviously didn't perhaps have the summer on the track that he would have wanted, with us, and I think last week was disappointing, or at the European Championships in Munich. The transition from track to road, how difficult is that?
Yeah, I think to be fair to Mark, I believe he's suffering from COVID, so he's not quite over the effects of that. He said he's just going to go with the pace this morning and see what happens. So hopefully he can still be there towards the end of the race. But yeah, we're expecting to see some fast times today.
And Callum Hawkins in the race this morning. Callum, of course, terrific marathon runner, twice fourth in the World Championships. But Tokyo last year was disappointing. He didn't finish the Olympic marathon. And he'd be looking for a good race on the comeback trail, I think, from injury. Yeah,
exactly. As you said, he's just coming back, and I think for Callum it's important just to get back into that, into racing, into training. I don't think he's on top form. I certainly don't think he's going to be close to his 60-minute PB. But I think a nice solid performance from Callum today will sort of get him back on the right track as he prepares, heading towards Paris.
Kevin, early stages here of the men's race, and they're strung out already, actually, in the first K.
It's a totally different race to last year. Last year, the pacer took us through to 5K. This year, we're hoping the pacer here, Bergen at the front, will come through in 10K, roughly in around 28 flat, 28.10. You can see them, completely strung out here.
And the pacemaker there checking his watch. And obviously he's on a schedule to make sure that they pass the kilometre markers, at certain times, and as you say, the pace is strong early.
Yeah, so if you look at last year, the first 5K we were on point for that kind of sub 60, and then the pace really dropped between 5 and 10K after the pacer dropped out. So with the pacer obviously carrying on for that extra 5K, we'll pull these guys along. Last year we hit 10K in 28.53, so it's almost a minute. We're hoping to go a little bit quicker through the 10K this year.
And of course, Emer, their last year's winner, just going with the pace, of course. And Mark Scott there as well. Scott trying to, stay with it, I guess, for as long as he can.
Yeah, as I said, he's not quite sure. Obviously suffering from COVID. We'll see what shape he's in. Mark's a strong guy. He's going to stay with it as long as he can, and but with the pace being 28 minutes through 10K, it is pretty quick for the road. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. Obviously, when Bethwell drops out, having gone through 10K, to see if the guys leading at the front are still going to continue that fast pace.
Joe, we see the head of the women's race here, the pace, and Ulam's are going with it again. It is a change to the course. The first 5K, a little bit downhill as well. We'll really get an idea of what kind of conditions she's in here. I guess. Yeah. Around about the first 5K.
And like you were saying, because the first part of the race is slightly downhill, they want to make use of that. So I think when they're working out their splits, they're tending to think of at least having some, even quicker splits maybe to begin with, to make use of that faster bit. And but yeah, it's mind-blowing the pace they're going to be wanting to do, which is 3 minutes per K. And for people out there thinking about their miles, I think she needs to run faster than 4:47 per mile, and that just puts it in perspective how difficult this task is and what sort of shape she's in.
So James McElroy has raced up from the presentation point. James, early stages, your early thoughts?
Well, Nigel, they've went off terrifically fast, so it's very, very aggressive at the front there. Both the men's and women's race. Bethwell Bergen, he's went through the first K in 2:46, 2:47, so that's, to put that into perspective, that's the course record 60:30. Sir Mo Farah, that's 50 at 45 pace, so he really is going quite fast.
So you're in the best position, obviously, to explain. I've been trying the course changes, the little changes that
Yeah.
you've made this year, to try and make the course even faster.
Yeah, well, we've taken out the harbour section, so we had a very tight turn into the Larne Harbour terminal and back out again. We've removed that, which means they have to run the roundabout in a clockwise direction instead of anti-clockwise. And that's made up the distance. So we've taken a very, very tight turn and put in a long sweeping turn. So the gradient and the slopes are still the same. It's just they won't be checking and coming back on themselves.
Again, James, just for people who may be tuning in for the first time, may never have seen the race before, it is thought of as an extremely fast course, as they'll shortly head out along the beautiful Antrim Coast Road, and we're going to see some beautiful shots, hopefully from the drone this morning, as they head out towards Ballygally. But why is it? Explain why it is that it is such a well thought of course and such a fast course.
Well, it is very fast. There's no doubt about that. The times would suggest that. It's the elevation is just within the legal tolerance of 21 metres, where we've got a depression from start to finish of 20 metres. So it's essentially very, very flat with a slight downhill. So that makes it, perfect, essentially. So if you do get, obviously it's a coastal course, so sometimes wind can play a factor, but if you get a day like today, it's as perfect as we can get.
In front of the women's race again, Joe, and Ullum Surf looking strong in the early stages here as we flick back to the men.
Yeah, Roy Homework there doing a great job pacing. She looks really comfortable at the moment, as you'd expect this early in the race. But yeah, I mean, the conditions are fairly good. The course is so fast and flat, and the athletes got opportunity here today to run some amazingly fast times.
Kevin's keeping an eye on the times. Whereabouts are we now? We're about 3K, 4K in? 3K?
What's interesting as well in the women's race there, you have Mo Ali, who's actually behind Yelimzorf today, who was actually her pacemaker last year. It goes to show how aggressive and the pace is so fast early on that he's actually sitting in behind.
Yeah, I mean, the times she's planning to run, many of the elite men would be pleased with running the sort of times she's going to be running. So, yeah, very impressive to see.
Well, we're just coming up to the 3K split now, so that when they come off this roundabout, they're coming on to past the race hotel, actually. And you can see 8:20 they've went through.
A little stumble there from Mark Scott coming around the roundabout, but he's recovered okay. So all the leading contenders there in the men's race, everybody we expect to be up there. Jamal Yemer, last year's winner, of course. Shadrach Kimmening and Teshfahun Alkanu as well. Mark Scott.
Nigel, I just saw the lead vehicle there of the ladies' race, and going through the 3K mark, it looked to be 8:37, which is absolutely staggering. So if that's right, that's 23 seconds inside world record pace on average. So that's very, very aggressive if that's what Yule Laws went through 3,000 metres.
Well, let's tell everybody what the current world record is, which is 62.52 from Elisabeth Guide in Valencia last year. And in fact, I think she set that record just a few weeks after this race, isn't that right? Where we thought that, of course, that Ullum Zerfiolaw had set the world record here. So
I think the UK all-comers record, certainly it's looking under threat even at this early stage. It's 65.52, Chilimo in Manchester. So that's certainly maybe a target for ULA there, and we'll have to see where it develops over 10 at the 10K mark.
Yeah, so interesting that the changes to the early part of the course really are taking or having the effect, Joe, that everybody thought. But pacing this race, when you're pacing a half marathon on the road, what are the key issues do you have to deal with? Because the undulations in the course, I guess, we think that first 5K is slightly more downhill. So obviously there are a few more undulations still to come when they get out onto the coast road.
Yeah, definitely. When you're planning your pace for a half marathon or a marathon or any road race, you're thinking about what splits you want to do per K or per mile. But yes, of course, like you say, you need to take in the fact that the course have certain undulations, tougher parts, easier parts, and how that's going to affect your splits, and that's why it's good to have a good knowledge of the course before you set out, definitely.
So passing 4K in what about so yeah, switch back to the women again.
What's nice here as well, the group isn't too big. I mean, last year probably a little bit too big too early, a lot of kind of jostling. It's nice for Yellams there to kind of sit in behind, not be worrying about other runners getting in their way.
You know, they're very spread out. I mean, even after 3K, they're spread out, so it shows you just testament to the pace at the front, how fast they're going. But this is a gradual uphill climb, so there's only 2 real uphill climbs in the course, and this is one of them, and sometimes it's quite exposed with the wind. You can see there the background of Larne Loch, so you can get the wind sweeping through. So it looked like ULA went through an 11:40 through 4K. And now the men are sweeping around the roundabout, and they're going to come back into the town, up the main street, which will take them through to 5K.
And then they'll be out onto the coast. And the conditions out there this morning, there's a little breeze down here at the finish line, but out towards Ballygally, have you had a report back, James? From,
well, not only have I had a report, I've been out twice this morning, so with my good lady wife. So it was beautiful this very early. There was a very gentle breeze, very, very gentle. It's nothing I think that would affect the runners. And if anything, it's helping in the way home. So when they turn, it should be behind them.
Joe, I'm sure when you were running, you didn't have much time to admire the scenery, but if you did on this course, it is spectacular. We really are looking forward to seeing some of those wonderful views shortly.
Yeah, it's totally spectacular. That's why many people want to come here. It's not only spectacular, but it's fast and flat. I had the honour of running around last year with the 2-hour group, people wanting to break 2 hours for the half marathon. So I did actually get to experience for myself how wonderful the course is. And I'm going to be doing the same here later, running with the mass race, running the 2-hour pace, and absolutely loved it.
I was going to say, Joe, you won't be here for the full commentary because you've got other roles to fulfil.
Yeah, I'm very lucky. I'm getting involved in lots of things. It's been a great whole weekend of sport here, and in London.
Well, and there's ULA just coming back on the main street, at the bottom of the main street. When she gets to 3/4 of the way up, she'll be, which is maybe about 300 metres. She's at the 5K mark, so it's very, very fast at the moment. I'm trying to think of the UK all-comers record for 5K on the road. I believe it's 14:47.
I'm trying to identify. There is another female athlete there, I think, at the back of that.
It's Tisihe Gamechu. So again,
a
great runner in her own right. A 65.0 runner. So she'll be looking to break that 65-minute barrier today as well. So ULA has went out incredibly hard, Nigel, but it's certainly, she's still got a race. So it won't be just a tap in that she'll win the race, because there's world-class runners both in Gamechu and Mutai in second and third at the moment.
And Gamechu's been in really good shape this year as well, because she won the Lisbon half in May to retain her title, and that was in 65 minutes too.
And this could be a good rivalry going forward, because I think they're both 23 years of age.
Well, sorry, Nigel, I just want to cut in here. We're about 50 metres short of the 5K mark there, and she's going to be around 14:40 for 5K ULA, so that's staggering.
I think many track athletes would love to be able to run 14:40 on its own. I mean, it's just blows your mind, doesn't it, to run that sort of pace at the start of a half marathon.
And we see the men now. This is the second climb in the course, so this is effectively the last climb from 5 to 7K. It's undulating out of the Larne Town Centre, and then they'll turn left in about half a mile onto the Antrim Coast Road.
I think what we are going to see, apart from, no matter what the time is in the men's race, is that a bit like last year, Kevin, we're going to see a really good race as they come, eventually in what about less than 45 minutes time back into town again.
Yeah, and I mean this year we've a couple of extra additions onto that group. Once the pacer drops out of 10k though, it'll be interesting to see who takes it on from the front from that point. We're going back to the women's race here. You can see Callum Hawkins is in there, and we also have Mo Ali and an Irish athlete there, Jake O'Regan. He's on for a big PB there if he can keep that pace. And I think that's Nigel Martin in behind there.
Yeah, so we've got some of the national federation teams with England and Scotland, it looks like, mixed in there with the lead women's race. So certainly that's not going to do you a lot any harm whatsoever, running with world-class male runners in their own right.
I have to say, I think it's great to see Callum Hawkins in that little group. I thought the marathon that he ran at the World Championships in Doha was absolutely spectacular a few years ago, to finish fourth in those conditions. And of course, I was at the Gold Coast at the Commonwealth Games when, of course, he had that awful, distressing, he finished to the event where he was leading, of course, coming into the final couple of K in the Commonwealth Games marathon 4 years ago, and those distressing pictures. But he's an athlete, Joe, that just goes for it. He knows his own capabilities, and he's nice to see him coming back from injury after the disappointment, because he was, I think he finished 8th or 9th in the Rio Olympics a few years ago, and he would have been looking forward to Tokyo had it gone ahead in 2020. He would have been coming off that 4th place finish in 2019 at the World Championships.
Definitely. I mean, Callum is such an amazing talent. He's twice finished 4th in the World Championships, Doha 2019, London 2017, and seeing him have that awful collapse in the Commonwealth, run himself into the heat exhaustion, and that took a lot for him to come back to. He's such a talent, and it's been a nightmare for him, in recent months, because he's had to come back from a lot of injuries. He's recently had surgery to the top of his foot and had to come back from that, and he's so determined, and I'm sure he's going to get back to his total best because he's such a determined athlete.
Well, he's going to get a good race this morning if he can stick with the pace that the leading ladies there have gone off with this morning in Ullum-Zurf. As you say, look at the 5k split times, 14:10, for the leading men, and
very, very fast. That's very fast, and that's just on that, Nigel. They're still in this long climb out of Larne. They're on the Glenarm Road. They're going to come onto the Coast Road now. But
14:44 there for
14:44. So that's an unratified UK all-comers record for 5k on the road. So that's en route to a half marathon. It's staggering running.
Yeah, we see that really it's only Gemenchu, who's been able to stay with that pace on the women's in the women's race. But
I know, just back on Callum, Nigel, it really is a home from home, because I mean, it's a lovely day at the moment. You can nearly see Glasgow from when he looks out to the right. So he'll get terrific support on the course. But now the leading men, they're sweeping down. This is a lovely section of the course. They're coming up to the 7k mark, and they're coming onto the iconic Coast Road, which hasn't really changed too much since the 1840s. So this is a nice part of the course now.
The men do look as though they've lost the early pacemaker there.
Bethwell Bergen.
He's done his job there. He's still going.
He's still going. So maybe the pace between Shadrach Kamining and Jamal Yimmer, they're part of the same management group. They may have decided to take it on themselves, or maybe Bergen's just struggling a little bit. So he's certainly dropped back, and he's trying to get going again, and he's joined the lead ladies group.
Well, Ullum-Zurf looking strong as they head down the hill and about to head on to the Coast Road.
Yeah, she looks great, doesn't she? She's got that amazing running style, so relaxed. Yeah, her feet come right up at the back, and I think when you're trying to run well yourself, you think of athletes like that and trying to emulate the amazing running form that they have.
I think there's some athletes in the race now, or they're having to make that decision early in the race, whether the pace is too hot. They kind of pull back a little bit on it there. We've got a lead group there now, 5 men.
And there we see, there's some still very, very high quality English, Scottish runners there. They're coming through now. They're onto the Coast Road section as well. So they're maybe 30 seconds behind, but they're coming up to the 7k marker as well, and still running very, very fast. So there could be a lot of PBs. There's 7k at 20:49 for Yule.
Kevin, tell us how quickly that is, because that to me is an amazing pace, and it's at the moment
it's 7 seconds inside world record pace. Yeah. Now you have to remember, obviously the first 5k is the faster section, so I think once we get to the 10k point, then we'll know at that stage where we're at in terms of world record pace.
That's really when things are going to start.
It's the problem that she might face a little later in the race, that actually if she's feeling good, if the pace drops off from the pacemakers there, at what stage will she have to make that decision?
Well, Nigel, it's funny. I spoke to them over the last few days, and they certainly thought it was there. They felt they went too conservative last year when they got to really know the course. So Yulon knows the course a lot better. She knows where she can attack, and she knows where she has to sit in. And I think there is going to be an element of that, certainly. So she's went off quite hard the downhill section to build it, set her race up, and then it's really now just if she can maintain this through to 10,000. But we also know she picked it up at the Ballygally turn last year, so she got tremendous support going around that Ballygally village, and then she wound it up to what was an unratified world record in 2021.
And Joe, we've seen the talent of this young woman. I think this year she won the Hamburg Marathon in a time of 2:17, 2 hours 17 minutes, and we're looking at somebody over the next few years whether she stays with the marathon, whether at major championship level as well, somebody who maybe would we expect to see her hopefully maybe in Paris in 2 years' time, that sort of thing. I mean, Ethiopia obviously has so many great runners and so many great runners to choose from, but she's really on an upward curve. Oh
yeah, I mean, she's such an exciting talent, still only 23 years old. Like you said, earlier this year she broke the world record for the 10k on the road, running 29:14. She ran the fastest ever debut for a marathon by a woman, running 2:17:23 in Hamburg, and the previous best debut was obviously our own Paula Radcliffe, who'd run 2:18.56. But yeah, she's going from strength to strength, and also she's down to run the London Marathon this year as well, so this will help her to see what sort of shape she's in, and also it will be good preparation as well as this being a world record attempt. So yeah, very exciting talent. I'm really excited watching her career unfold, definitely.
And just back on the men's, actually, Joe, I see Mark Scott, he's maybe 5 metres behind that pack of the 4 leading Africans, but he's still very, very much still there in this race.
Yeah, I mean, he ran so well here last year. I remember watching the finish where there was 4 of them there right to the end, and they all finished within 2 to 3 seconds of each other. And he's had a tough year competing in 3 major championships. Didn't feel good at the World Champs, and then came through to 4th in that Commonwealth Games, and running well in the European Championships as well. And it's been a busy year for athletes like Mark, who are combining the track season and now a road season. So he's a fantastic talent.
Just jumping in there, Joe, it looks like Jamal Yimmer has taken this pace on. He split slightly from Tesfahun Akolnu, who was first and second last year, but certainly there was no gap through the 5 mile point, whereas I think they kicked down the hill with 1,000 metres to go. So it looks like Jamal's taking this race on.
Can I just ask just quickly, because the course has changed, will this be a new course record?
It will be a new course record. Yes. So it's but I'll be honest, Nigel, at the pace they're going at the minute, if they can maintain even near this, the course record is going to be shattered.
Well, we see a break there now. Is that Ymer out in front?
Yeah.
Just open up a little 10-metre gap there now. He's gone very early.
He's gone very early, and from speaking to Tesfahun Akolnu's management, he's in good shape as well. So they think he's going to run very well today. He's a 59:22 runner. So if he's dropping a 59:22 runner, Jamal's a 58:33 guy. So he's coming into this race with 2, off the back of 2 PBs. So who knows?
And Ymer comes into this race having finished 8th in the Boston Marathon this year in a time of 2 hours 8 minutes, and that's pretty good going, because that's a tough course.
It is a tough course, but again, we're just seeing shots of him striding out, and he really has taken this on. But he's ran very fast over the smaller distances, so 10 miles and 10k. He's ran PBs going into this race. So maybe not, if we don't look at the Boston, if we look at the shorter distances, he's in tremendous shape over the half marathon and below.
And the women now going through Black Arch. And I think maybe Callum has just dropped off the back of that group. Is he still there?
No, that's another group just behind.
Oh, that's the other group, sorry.
Yeah, that's Gamechu. So
that's
she's
Gamechu,
actually she's running.
Yeah.
I can see there's certainly Escalante Phillips, Norman Shreve there. So she's Gamechu sitting with guys who have all ran 64 flat. So she's on for a very fast time as well. But it's this lady at the front. She's come back. We're all delighted that she has come back, and she's certainly inside what she ran last year.
Well, Ymer out in front now.
It's amazing to see Jamal, like you say, take the race by the scruff of the neck here. He had a couple of glances around there to see if any of the lads were going to come with him, but no one's coming with him. He's in heavy training for Chicago Marathon, which is in, I think, 4 or 5 weeks' time. So
he must be feeling really good and confident, because you've got the same top 3 running here today, and the tactics were very different last time. They all stayed together and everyone was in contention right to the end. So the fact that he's got the confidence to make a break this early, he must be feeling good and, you know, really sort of confident within the shape that he's in at the moment, because to take the lead this early on, yeah, he looks really, really brilliant.
Yeah, I was a little bit worried when Bethwell sort of dropped out before 10k. You know, it's good that the pace has continued. It'll be interesting as I think they're approaching 10k now, to see that you know, he's still pushing the pace and he's broken away from that group of 3 behind him. And yeah, as we go back to the leading women there, or the leading woman.
Joe, I want to ask you, as we look at the leading women, a little bit off on a tangent, but you mentioned the 3 major championships back to back this year, the Europeans, Commonwealths and World Championships. You know, as a former 5 and 10k runner yourself on the track, you really do have to admire what Eilish McColgan achieved this year on the track.
Oh yeah, she was fantastic, and I just loved her run when she won the Commonwealth Games, and how special it was that she was emulating what her mum has achieved and gone beyond that with the time she's running. And yeah, brilliant scene seeing her hugging her mum, and I just love that last lap. I mean, that many laps and then that 63 last lap, and how it came down to the home straight. It was so exciting, and yeah, it's amazing what Eilish is achieving, definitely.
I mean, to double up at 3 major championships in the space of 5 weeks, you know, it's an incredible achievement, and to you know, to maintain that level of consistency.
Yeah, to win.
You see, Ymer's went through in 28.16, so it's maybe 10 seconds slightly down on what they want, but we don't know if there is any headwind that they'll be running into it now. So he's obviously, maybe the pace has slowed and he's just said, no, I'm going to keep going with it. So he's on for about, I guess at the moment, 59 flat pace.
It's 37 seconds quicker than the split last year, which will put us bang on 60 minutes.
He's opened up a little 9-second gap there as well, has Ymer, and he really does look strong. And you know, we've just talked about, you know, going as early as he's gone, but either he didn't feel the pace was strong enough, or he feels great, or it's a combination of both, Scott.
Yeah, I think he's obviously feeling very good, and I think what will help as well is when he comes up to the Ballygally turn, he'll turn at the top and he'll be able to run back past some of these guys and see the gap he's actually got on them. And then obviously once you make that turn, it's pretty much fast running back down to the finish. So I think mentally that will really help him, and he's obviously, you know, looking like he's potentially going to win this race.
Well, Kimmening and Alkanu stayed with him to the final, you know, few hundred metres last year, and they're struggling to stay with the pace that Ymer's setting at the moment. And somebody I don't think James was here last year, Alfred Ngano, is a new name to me. He wasn't in the field last year.
No, he wasn't. He was a late addition. So it's obviously when you get someone of Alfred's calibre coming in, he's a 61 flat runner, but he's probably in better shape than that. It's good to. You know, it's great they even consider the race. So it was an easy decision to include him.
And we see that Callum Hawkins has gone through in 29.52, which of course, and he's running with Ewell at the moment. So 29.52 for 10k. Kevin, How does that? Where are we now?
Well, I'd just like to see the ULO's splits, because if that is well, Helen Nabiri has the UK all-comers record at 10,000 metres. I believe 30:14. So she's a mile inside the UK all-comers record at 10,000. That's obviously unconfirmed, but certainly if she's running with Callum there beside her, she's potentially around world record pace.
And just going back to Callum there, he's trying to race himself into fitness now, probably do another half and maybe probably a marathon at the end of the year or next spring, but that's actually his quickest 10k for the year, so it just goes to show how his fitness has improved in the last 6 weeks since his last race.
And 29:52 official split there for ULO, so it's right on world record pace. I think actually it's 7 seconds slower than world record pace, but she smashed the UK all-comers record through 10,000 metres en route.
Joe, got to ask you, it's the most important question I'll ask you all morning. Are you a fan of Game of Thrones?
I am aware of it. I wouldn't say I'm a massive sort of person of knowledge on Game of Thrones, but obviously I'm well aware that the series was filmed here, and it's a great thing that people want to come and see, definitely.
Because, James, they're coming up on anybody who is a fan of Game of Thrones, they're coming up to, well, you tell us where.
Well, it's now, you are actually getting into the iconic shots, so you're going to go round Ballygally Head, and when they sweep round that corner, you can see the Mullican Tire. It's 12 miles on the right. The viewers at home won't be able to see it, but the fun runners will be able to see it. I don't want to say the elite runners will be able to see it. And then when they come on around the Ballygally turn, you'll have the Salach Hills, which is where, of course, they film Game of Thrones. So it is quite an iconic place in Northern Irish terms, and it's also very beautiful.
Yeah, come and see it if you're ever in this part of the world. Game of Thrones tours are available, I believe. I've never been on one.
But I do have to say here, just Nigel, onto a serious point, the leading two ladies, it's a staggering pace they went through. Gamechu in 30:33. I mean, she's well inside 65-minute pace, and Yulaw 29:52. I think it really depends how Yelimzerv's feeling going through that, but it's ferociously fast pace.
And 31:41 there for Beatrice Mutai in third place. Worth mentioning, she's 35.
Yeah, and
years
she's
of age, and that's a pretty good time.
Well, it's not only a pretty good time; it's probably a PB time. So she's right on course for a personal best as well.
And Mutai, of course, we should mention, is the older sister of Faith Kipyegon, who ran that staggering 1,500 metres in Monaco at the Diamond League just 10 days or so ago. Just almost missed out on the world record, and of course won the world championship back in Eugene on the track in the 1,500 metres ahead of Laura Muir, of course, and so that's quite the running family when you think about it.
It's well, the genes are definitely there, Nigel. So I'll say that. What else? We're just going back now to Ymer, and he's hugging the coastline there. So he's just running around Ballygally Head. So if there is any wind, he's going to feel it here, and you can see how
he's increasing the gap as well.
He's increasing the gap, and he's very, very tight to the headland there. So it's clear he's going for a time now.
And not too far behind, just passing a golf club where a certain James McElroy is an honorary member, Curran-Du.
It's great to add, yes. I haven't played for too long, but yes,
it would be remiss of me not to give your mum a mention, and her success, her golfing success.
That's
last
right.
week as well.
She's actually marshalling on the road, so she'll miss this, but this she'll.
She won was it Captain's Day or Ladies' Day?
I think it was President's Day.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, but no. All joking aside. You know, the Coast Road has some beautiful golf courses, starting at Curran-Du, and it works the whole way up to Royal Portrush and Castle Rock and Port Stewart. So,
well, I'm sure Yelimzer hasn't had too much time to take in the scenery here. She's got.
Well, there has been a few runners up at Curran-Du Golf Club, but Yelimzer hasn't been one of them. But I'm sure there's time for that.
Well, Ymer at the head of the men's race just continues to stride away from the opposition, and I said about 4k ago that, well, at least we'll get an exciting men's race with all the leading contenders from last year in it as well. But actually, Ymer is has really, dug in deep here and is moving away from the opposition. And
well, it's the nice part of the course. He's worked his way around the headland, the Ballygally headland, and he's now approaching the village itself of Ballygally, where they'll do a little loop. There'll be a lot of support for them. The athletes love this section of the course, and then he's turning for home.
And I think this is the scene from Ballygally Head here as he approaches.
And also, it's very, very brave running, taking this on so early out. With 15k to go, effectively he took the lead.
Well, he said when we were talking to him on Friday morning at the media event, he did say he wanted the course record. Now, of course, it's a slightly different course to what the race has been run on as well. But as he checks his watch,
yeah, he's clearly running for a time. But I would stress to everyone at home watching, it's not a tap in from this point. He's running incredibly fast, and it will be hurting to a certain point. He's just went through 13k, yeah, in 36:35, so 36:40.
We should point out for all the great runners that Ethiopia have, Yamal Yimur actually holds the national record for the half marathon, which he set in Valencia. I think it was last year.
Yeah, that's right. He's actually he was the fastest debut half marathon runner of all time. He's the Ethiopian record holder, and he's won Valencia as well. So that's sort of great stock, Nigel. You can't really do much improving on that in half marathon terms. And we're coming up to a tight turn at Ballygally. This is the one that throws him out slightly, and they've got one more turn, and then he'll be heading home.
Yeah, Yimur actually back in the World Championships on the track in 2017, finished in 5th place in the 10,000 metres as they all chased Sir Mo Farah back at home at the London Olympic Stadium, which is actually still his PB, I believe, on the track for the 10,000.
And now Yimmer's he's effectively running for home, so he's made the turn.
And still ahead of last year's schedule, Kevin, yes?
Yeah, well ahead. We'd be interested to see this split there at 15k. So 15k, we're looking for around 42:40, which would indicate then he's under 60-minute pace. But you just know by the gap he's putting in with the other athletes that he's definitely increased the pace since he left them. And I would probably say he's on for around 59:20 at the moment.
Well, nice to see some support on the roads this morning as we go back to the head of the women's race. And Yalom Zerif Yola, she checks her watch as well. Now she'll be wanting to hit some markers around the Ballygally turn as well. What will she be looking for, guys?
Well, we won't actually know really until the 15k split. She's or the next k marker, but she's inside 3 minutes per k at the moment, or thereabouts. So she's maybe just either side of the fastest all time. So it's going to be quite exciting.
So you can see there, Roy, the pacemaker, has just pulled to the side of the road, and she's left with Callum Hawkins. I'm sure Callum won't mind taking on some of this.
Yeah, I'm sure maybe this is not what Callum had planned to necessarily be the
No,
pacemaker.
I mean Callum's not a bad pacemaker to have there. But yeah, as I said, I think possibly Callum's coming into this race. He's probably been quite conservative the first half. Not really knowing what shape he's in and having not raced for a long time. So I would expect to see him probably kick on now in the second half of the race towards home.
But Joe, there's a little gap there, just 2 or 3 metres between Callum and Yalom Zerif, and it may be that very shortly she's left on her own here now, and how difficult then does that become?
Yeah, very difficult. Obviously, the pacemakers have done a great job, and they've stepped aside now, and it's got Callum there. But like Scott was saying, Callum obviously is racing his way back to fitness, and it could be that he pushes on now in this final stretch, and whether she'll be able to tag along for a little bit. But Callum, obviously, at his best, would pull away quite quickly. So we'll have to see if she does get left on her own. But she's a strong athlete. She would have been in that situation before. So
I think this is the little group with Gemenchu in it, is it? Yeah, and as they approach the turn at Ballygally as well. So Callum Hawkins, Yellowmsurf, Ualaw, can she?
And she's now got the wind behind her, Nigel. So it's, yes, she could be isolated soon, but if she can stay with Callum, I mean, as Scott alluded to, you're not going to get a better pace than that. Whether it works out that way, we're not sure. It looks like she's just dropping off slightly, but
I'm just looking at her cadence here. Do you see any change from the first 5k? I mean, I'm hoping it's not the case, but
yeah, she may be. We'll soon find out whether she's dropping off or whether Callum's kicking on. So it's, but it's, whatever she's going to do now, she's doing it on her own.
Are you surprised, James, that Roy, the pacemaker, dropped out so early? I thought he was potentially going to go to at least 15k. So, you know, he's obviously taken her up to Ballygally, but then dropped out quite soon after before.
Yeah, I actually think the pace, the first 10k has hurt a lot of the male runners. So Roy may have struggled with that as well, or else he may not have just been feeling 100%. But either way, it looks like she's got it all to do by herself.
meanwhile, Yamal Yemer continues to run strongly as he heads back down towards Black Arch, and then, well, it'll not be that long now. Maybe we're, what, 18 minutes or so, 19 minutes before the finish of the race.
He's actually running past the second at Currandoo now, so he'll be coming up in about maybe 150 metres to the Currandoo entrance, Currandoo Golf Club entrance, and then it's his next stop will be Drains Bay in the Black Arch, and the 15k split.
So what, about 42.12 or so going through 15k for Yemer.
So we're 28 seconds inside 60-minute pace.
And to put that in, for those that maybe tuned in, maybe aren't, you know, put that in a little bit of context then. What,
well,
you know,
the UK All-Comers record's 59.10, and it would certainly be, Sir Mo Farah's ran the fastest time ever in Ireland at 60.29, so...
yeah, 60.27 here.
60.27, yeah. I beg your pardon. So it's, Jamal Yemer ran 60.29 last year. Yeah. So he's looking inside where he was this time last year, and he could be the first person ever to break 60 minutes in Ireland, and maybe more.
Joe, it's impressive, isn't it? The moment
yeah, I mean, he's just pulling away. He looks strong, he looks confident, and he's just striding away. And you know, having run 60.30 last year, he's going to be way inside that. And I'm just impressed by the confidence he's shown, because last year he ran an amazing race, winning the race, but it was just right down to the wire. And the fact that he felt he could approach it this year with the same top three lineup and actually just go for it at such an early stage and continue to pull away, he just looks fantastic out there today.
Well, the official time is 42.13 at 15k. Shadrach Kimmening is, what, 8 seconds actually?
No,
a minute and 8 seconds behind. 43.21 for Kimmening, and Alconu running alongside Kimmening, and Alfred Nagano in that group as well. But you know, it's a massive gap. Obviously, it's a winning gap for Yamal Yemer. He looks well on course now to defend the race title that he won last year. Now it's all about the clock and that magic 60-minute mark, and can he get below it? Yeah,
and it'll be interesting just to see the camera shot when it bounces back to Ualaw, just to see how isolated she is. We can see some of the international or the national level runners coming through just at the Ballygally turn. Again, all of these runners on a very, very fast time. Just see there on the split, Mark Scott 44.11 seconds through 15k.
Scott's still running strongly in 5th place there. And we await now the women's race for Yellowmsurf Ualaw. Well, she's lost a little bit more ground on Callum Hawkins, but again, difficult to know whether that's Callum speeding up.
Well, we're going to know at the 15k split, Nigel, just how she's affected by that very, very fast first 10k. If she can keep it going, or if she's dropped right off. And there may be a case that she's had a sticky K or a sticky 2k and she's getting back into it as well. So she's certainly not written off by any stretch. It's just we'll find out a little bit more at the 15k mark. But certainly she's dominating the women's race, and she's in uncharted territory, I think, in UK and Ireland terms, in terms of half marathon running.
Well, the UK All-Comers record is 65.52. from Edith Shalima way back in 2017 in Cardiff in the Irish.
I think the first two ladies are well inside that time.
And the Irish all-comers record is Lily Partridge here in 2 years ago of 71.36.
Just to cut in, Nigel, Callum Hawkins has went through in 45.18, so Law is slightly behind that, but not masses behind it, so it's still very, very fast running.
45.27 for Yalom Zerf at the 15k mark, and
so she's 27 seconds outside world record pace, but to put that into context, she's still running mid 63 minute pace, so very, very fast running.
I think it's worth mentioning as well that this world record that she's going for, that, and obviously she's a bit off now, but it's such a difficult world record to attempt. As far as IAAF points score, it's meant to be the hardest world record that there is, because 62.52 is just considered the hardest record in women's running to beat, so that puts it into context, and anything quicker than she ran last year would be an absolutely amazing performance.
Joe, I'll just jump in there to put it into context. She's actually in personal best shape. She's running faster than she's ever ran before.
Yeah, I was saying anything under what she ran last year would be an absolutely awesome
amazing
performance, because I think the world record is so outstanding. I mean, any woman running 63 or low 63s is amazing. I mean, it's just got incomprehensible really to run 62 something, I think. But yeah, this is still, whether she gets the record or not, it's such a superb run that she's doing out there.
Yes.
And a lot of these personal bests, and indeed that record by Guide, all run at Valencia, which whether it's the marathon, when people are looking for qualification times for major championships, Valencia is always the place they want to go, because it is a quick course. It's a very, very fast course, and a lot of the personal bests, and indeed, I mean, when you look at Ymer as he stretches out here, that national record he set, the Ethiopian national record again set in Valencia. It's just a course that people love to go to get times.
They love to go to, and it's also very, very big fields. I think we could ask Scott, bring Scott in here. He's certainly ran Valencia a few times, but the size of the elite fields are huge. Scott, I'm right in saying.
Yeah, not only, as you said, James, the course is very flat. The weather's pretty much perfect every year, but the field sizes are just huge. You've got a group of 15, 20 athletes all going for the same time, which is obviously a very fast time. And as you've got here, you just got Yamal just by himself, and the field's broken up quite quickly. Whereas in Valencia, you've got groups all the way pretty much until the last sort of 3-4k.
Well, Tisha Gemenchu still in second place in the women's race, 46.11 through 15k. And Beatrice Mutai in third, 47.58. So the times here this morning are fast, and Ymer just continues to stride away now. As
we're just looking at beautiful shots of Drains Bay there, so we can see. They always talk about the Jurassic coastline. It's fantastic for finding fossils, Nigel. I know there's been a few amazing fossil finds, and you can see just the basalt sea line or coastline.
What you're referring to me there as an old fossil there for a second, James?
Well, I feel certainly like an old fossil after this week, but it's all worthwhile.
So, your law still. I see she's still looking strong, still running well.
She's looking very strong, and she may have had a little bit of a blip over a K, or as we were talking about or alluded to, Callum may have taken the first half quite conservatively. He's a world-class runner in his own right. As Joe said, he's come fourth twice in the World Championships. So, even Ualaw at her best wouldn't be running near Callum. So, it could just be that Callum, he's preparing for a marathon. He's taking the first half quite slowly, and he's kicking on. What's more salient is that she's running by herself. She's got no pacemaker, so it's her against the clock.
Yeah, obviously it does make it more difficult, but at the same time, she's an athlete who's well prepared. She's got all that mental strength. She'll be, been used to being in this position in other races and in training, and she'll push on.
So in the men's race, we've less than 10 minutes of running left. He still looks very strong. What's quite noticeable in the last few Ks, he stopped looking at his watch. He just settled into that nice rhythm.
Are we close? Are we close? I'm just looking at the UK all-comers record. Is 59.10 from Jeffrey Cameror. That's a record set 2016. I know he was last time we checked, he was certainly under 60-minute pace, but 59.10 a little bit.
It depends how he winds it up.
Yeah.
So it's effectively he's running from here to the finish. It's downhill. He's got over maybe about 2.5 miles to go, Nigel. So it's just how much he can pick it up. If he can pick it up, it's certainly attainable. But again, Jamal he's running very much on his own, but he does look fantastic. He knows the course very well as well. That should be pointed out.
Well, back under Black Arch comes Jamal Ymer. He strides out as he heads back towards Larne on the finish line here.
And beautiful shots, Nigel. You can see the cliff face on the right. It's in sections. It's 100 meters high, so it does take a lot of the wind. And whatever little bit of wind he does have, it's behind him now. So when you're saying about running a fast time the last 2 miles, he's got every chance.
Well, we'll see what Ymer has saved for the closing stages. He's dominated this race really from the time the early pacemaker dropped out, almost just as they approached the coast road, which is what, about 7k into the race. He's taken it on board from there and has run away from the field.
Yeah, and back to Eula, and she's just went through 17k and 51.39, so she's still running very, very strong. And of course, a tremendous talent, Nigel. 23 years of age. She's dismantling every record as she goes along. Maybe not the half marathon today, but at some point that's going to go again.
Yeah, and she's very suited to the road. You know, talking to someone from a team yesterday, saying how she's tried the track, and you know, it's interesting. She's not achieving the times on the track as quick as she can run on the road, and she's one of those athletes who her style really suits the road, and you know, the performance she's been able to do on the road is why she's probably focused on the road at a young age, and you know, she's just such a talent.
Well, the second and third in the men's race.
Yeah, and Geno and Shadrach Kimining working together. I just saw them have a couple of words, and you can see they probably won't be doing that in 1,000 meters time, but they're both definitely working together at the moment. And there's Acklenew. He's been dropped again by Kimining and then Geno.
Just to put in perspective, the second and third there are operating at inside last year's time, so just goes to show what a great run Jamal Ymer is having out front here.
Well, yeah, it was 1 minute and 8, wasn't it? We're waiting just on the. Well, the last time we did time check, so in fact, I mean, that's an incredible difference from last year.
Well, yeah, I mean, and he's very much on the home straight now, as is Eula. They can both see the finish. They can both see the Chain Memorial Tower from where they are. So that's definitely going to help them drive them home.
Well, Yellowm's Eula on her own as she heads back towards the finish line here at the Chain Memorial Tower in Larne.
Yeah, working hard there, but still looking strong.
We have these beautiful aerial shots.
Yeah, fantastic shots and a gorgeous day as well. So they have really got a great day for the race, as the mass race in just under 2 hours' time.
And Joe, there'll be plenty. We're obviously very focused on Yellowm's Earth, but behind her there'll be a number of athletes looking for personal best times out of this morning's race, because the course obviously lends itself to that.
Yeah, many athletes want to run in this race. They know its reputation, they know how fast it is, and it's only going to go from strength to strength. The runners that want to be here, they want to have a go at this brilliant course, and like you say, it's spectacular. It really showcases the area, doesn't it? I mean, it just looks awesome.
And just seeing there, Eula having a look behind. So is that? Does she think she's getting caught by Gamechu, or is she struggling, or is she just? There's a cyclist there beside her, just seeing, maybe sensing that he's there. But
looking at her watch.
She's within 2.5 miles now from home. So again, she's very much on the homeward section.
Well, we're reaching the conclusion of the 2022 Antrim Coast Half Marathon. The races look decided. On the men's side, Jamal Ymer, last year's winner, has taken this race really by the scruff of the neck from about the 7k mark. And in the women's race, our leader, Yellowm's Eula, coming through
She still
black
looks,
arch and still looking strong, still running well.
Still running very well. I mean, there's no doubt the early pace. She's ran so aggressively at the start. She set up the world record pace. Without pacemakers beside you, Nigel, it's very, very difficult. But she's still running very, very strong. Yimmer just going down, so we know he's coming up to the 20k mark just at the bottom of this hill in about 200 meters time. He'll be at the 20k mark, so we'll be able to say exactly his time. Is he going to get under that 60-minute barrier?
So at 20k 60 minutes is 56:53, so we'll get a really good idea here now as we approach 20k. It's a really fast section of the course.
Well, there he's well through it there,
so
Kevin.
The UK all-comers record, Nigel, could actually be very, very close here at 59.10.
He's right on it at the moment.
Well, he's found a little bit of extra speed coming.
I can just see this from our commentary position. I can just see the finish line. They're starting to get the tape out. There's a little bit of jostling going on down there, so there's a bit of excitement.
Well, he's not far from home now, Yimmer. That little downhill stretch, difficult to run downhill. That's the stage of a half marathon. That's a skill in itself, being able to run downhill at speed like that.
For a man that's ran Boston twice, I'm sure he can manage it.
Yeah, that is true. Well, I'm sure he knows because you know, he's been glancing at his watch throughout the race, so I'm sure he knows what.
He knows this section very well, Nigel.
He knows what standard. He knows where he is and what he needs to do.
And Uala's coming, Nigel. She's not far. She's maybe 600 metres herself from the promenade. So again, coming not too far away from the 20k mark.
Well, let's focus on Yamal Yimmer now. The closing stages of the men's race, the elite race here at in Larne.
Looking very strong, Nigel, still. So he's coming up to the 400 metres to go mark. So he's on for a fantastic time. He could be either side of. He could certainly be inside the 59.10 if he can keep this going.
Well, that's the UK all-comers record. That's what we're watching for. That's the excitement as this race reaches its conclusion. Yamal Yimmer took it on from about 7k as the runners headed out on the Antrim Coast Road. He's run away from his opposition this year. Last year it was a sprint finish in the last few hundred metres. The only sprint he's needing to do today is against the clock. As we tick past the 58-minute mark.
It's going to be very close. He's with 400 to go now, so it really is very, very tight. And he's hurting. You can see he's given everything. He's ran maybe 15k of this race all by himself.
Looks at his watch again as he strides out now. We'll be seeing him coming around the corner here very, very shortly towards the finish line. Yamal Yimmer, the 25-year-old from Ethiopia, last year's winner.
We can see him now. He's going to be exceptionally close to the sub-59. Is he going to be the first person to break 59 minutes?
So Yimmer around the corner, just can he find that final sprint as he heads up towards the line? Past the chain memorial. Yimmer still going strong. Remember, that time we're looking for 59.10 is the UK all-comers record. And he can see the finish line.
He's going to break the UK all-comers record. We could be looking at something exceptional here, Nigel.
So Yimmer, last year's winner, he's going to make it two in a row. The winner, Yamal Yimmer, the time 59.05 unofficial, and that will be a UK all-comers record. It takes the record of Jeffrey Kamworor out of the record books from Cardiff in 2016. A fantastic run by Yamal Yimmer from Ethiopia. He ran most of that race solo. From 7k onwards he took it on, ran away from his opposition. What a result, and what a finish he found there over the last 2 or 3k, because he was slightly behind that 59.10.
Fantastic. He picked it up, Nigel. The last 2k he picked it up, and I mean, doing that by yourself, it's not easy. I mean, there we just see shots of him. You can see he's found it very, very tough there. And I might add, just there's the socks off, so he'd be glad to get them off. But Uala as well, Nigel, she's coming up to the 20k mark, so she's still going to be running a very, very fast time. Maybe outside world record pace, but we could be looking, well, we will be looking at a UK all-comers record, hopefully in the ladies as well.
Well, we're actually waiting, I think, on the that race, which was heating up between Shadrach Kimmening and Alfred Engano for second and third in the men's race. They should be coming into sight shortly, as they were actually, they're now considerably, it was a minute late last time I think we had a time check, and they are coming into view now. And that's
Tesfa Hunakon still
in fourth place, I think, as we look now for the
and I think the early pace, Nigel, hurt some of these runners. They all went very, very aggressive, which is great to see, but I think some of them have paid for it.
And here comes our second place finisher in the men's race,
just inside 61 minutes,
and he has a new PB by 2 seconds.
So Alfred Engano takes second place, the Kenyan. I think 61.02 was his PB, Kevin, before, and I think he's done well to beat that. And it's Shadrach Kimmening, also from Kenya, who comes in third place as well. So we've got the top three home in the men's race. The winner, Yamal Yemer, second place, Alfred Engano with a PB, and Shadrach Kimmening outside of his PB, but finishing in third place as well.
And all smiles, he likes it.
Yeah. So now we'll focus on the women's race and the fantastic Yellam Zurif Yulaw, who of course won the race last year. She's going to win it again this year, and once again we're looking at the time of 65.52 for Edith Chilimo. That's the UK all-comers record, and she's well within that as she approaches to the last half mile or so.
Yeah, I think it's going to be maybe mid 64 minutes, Nigel, so that's well inside the 65.52.
We saw Mark Scott go through there, Omar Ahmed chasing Mark Scott, but it's Yellam Zurif Yulaw now on the promenade.
600 to go, Nigel, so she's still on a very, very fast time. It won't be a world record, but it will be a UK all-comers record, so we could be looking at 2 UK all-comers records.
And we should say, of course, that Yamal Yemer's taken the Irish all-comers record as well, away from Mo Farah.
Yes,
who set it here 2 years ago as well, of 60.27, and in fact Yellam Zurif is on course to do both the UK and of course and the Ireland.
And Callum Hawkins just coming through, and Yellam Zurif isn't actually too far behind Callum.
Yeah, you can just see a grimace on Callum's face now. It's really starting to hurt.
Mark Scott through in 62.55, something like that.
I think fifth place for Mark Scott, I think, in the men's race. We'll confirm all the results later as we enjoy the finish of the women's race. And once again,
and Yulaw's 400 to go now, Nigel, so she could be looking at a 64.30, something like that there, 60, or maybe even slightly better.
Joe, how impressed are you?
Yeah, I mean, it's still an impressive performance. Like James was saying earlier, she really committed in that first 10k, and maybe that did take it out of her a bit in the final stages, and she's grimacing more, she's working hard, but it's still a fantastic performance. I mean, 64 minutes something for half marathon, I mean, that is awesome, but I think she just went for it and maybe pushed it a little bit hard at the beginning, but
and
still
still in heavy marathon training as well, it should be said.
So we look ahead, we look to her right now and look for the...
She's definitely picked up the pace again here, turning into the last bend.
Yeah, Callum Hawkins here looking just under the 64 minutes. And Yulaw striking for home, so she's still going to be very low, 64 minutes. We can just see her coming in now.
Yes. Tremendous from Yellam Zurif Yulaw from Ethiopia, the 23-year-old. She's going to win this race for the second year in a row. And she's winning it in a terrific time as well. She's going to smash the UK all-comers record and the Ireland all-comers record as well.
And there we are, brilliant.
As she crosses the line in roundabout, well, we'll get the official time, 64.20, maybe somewhere around then.
And a massive fan favourite as well, Nigel, so there'll be certainly a lot of the supporters will be delighted that she's firstly come back, and secondly that she's went out so hard and tried to give it attack that world record again, and she's got a UK all record out of it, so it's brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic run, and like you say, the locals will be pleased to see her back. They all loved her last year.
And Gamechu's on a fantastic time as well. She could also be under the UK all-comers record.
Well, Tashai Gamechu crosses in second place, just almost 65 minutes exactly there for Gamechu, maybe a second or two under it.
It's an
that'll be a
8-second
PB
PB.
for
That's
her.
another
Yeah.
personal best.
And once again inside, well inside the UK all-comers record. So once again, terrific fast running here in Lauren this morning.
Lots of the home nation runners now coming in there. Mo Ali there.
There's a wealth of runners here coming in at 65 minutes. Still fantastic times.
Ross Braden coming through there.
And a number of those guys will be obviously looking at that times, Kevin, and hoping for a PB this morning.
Well, I think Ross Braden's just ran a PB there, so I think that's the first time he's ran under 66 minutes.
And Ross is preparing for a London Marathon. Like a lot of these runners here now will have.
Is that, don't forget we've got an international as well, so we've got England, Scotland, Northern Ireland and Ireland. So it's a team competition, so it'll be interesting to see. I just saw two of the Irish guys go through there, so it'll be interesting to see in the men's and women's who wins that.
Yeah, we caught a glimpse there. Jake O'Regan, who went with Yalem Zurf in the early stages and paid for it. Like you said earlier, James, a lot of people did pay for that early pace.
Yeah, I think so. They did, and it's very, very exciting when they go for it. You know, they go out that aggressively to go. Looking at Ulaw going through in sub 30 minutes, I think for 10k. It's ferocious running, so you're always on that red line, whether it can go one way or the other. And I think certainly the men's as well. They went quite hard, quite soon. So it's some of the runners paid for it.
Well, we've got Yamal Ymer, who's won the race for 2 years, for the second year in a row, in a tremendous time this morning, smashing the UK all-comers record as well. And he's now down the finish line with Stephen Watson.
Congratulations. How was that race for you?
Thank you very much. Race is good. Best place and good attitude. Yeah, race is good. Thank you very much, Ireland, and thank you very much, race organizer. I'm happy.
You have broken the UK all-comers record. How does that feel?
Oh, I'm happy. Maybe good condition. Me focus. Coach and me maybe 58. Yeah, 55. Yeah, happy.
And finally, how do you feel about winning here in Northern Ireland 2 years in a row?
Nothing. It's good. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, well done.
Thanks.
Yamal Ymer there, the winner of the men's race, setting a new UK and Ireland all-comers record this morning. We're going to get our final thoughts from Joe Pavey, because Joe has to disappear off and go do some work. You're going to be pacing the mass race when it starts in about 50 minutes or so's time. We've seen the two winners from last year win again this year, Ymer and Ulaw, and it's almost like they came last year, they saw the course, they saw how good it was, and they've come back this year. Both of them have run faster, and I think it just really shows the work that James does with this event. People want to come back because having had a little bit of a cider last year, they've come back and done it again.
Yeah, definitely. James and the whole team have done an amazing job, and you're totally right. You've got top-class athletes coming to an event and they want to come back again and attempt world records here. You can see what they think of this course, and absolutely brilliant, amazing performances by Ymer and Yehalor, winning those races in such style, and yeah, fantastic to see. And I think you'll get many top athletes want to come here and give this course a go. Definitely. I wish I could have given this a go when I was a bit fitter. It's absolutely brilliant.
Joe, listen, thank you so much for being part of the commentary team. We'll let you go now. We'll let you get yourself all set up and ready for the mass race, because I think we now have the winner of the women's race, Yalem Zurf Ulaw. She's down just beside the finish line here, and she's talking to our very own Stephen Watson.
Congratulations. How does it feel to win here in Northern Ireland for a second time?
Thank you for organizer. I'm so happy to come here. My feel was good. I'm so happy to win this race. I was thinking the first 10K, it was fast. The last 5K, a little bit slowly. Then I was thinking world record. Now it was good. 3 times 64 I was run. Now 4 times. I'm so happy to win this race.
We know you were trying for the world record. How disappointed you couldn't quite make it today?
I was thinking about world record. The first 10K very fast I was going. The last 5 a little bit slowly. I was thinking world record now a little bit slowly my time. I was thinking that is world record. I will try next time.
Yeah, you will be back next year, we hope.
I hope. I hope I will be back. I like it this race. I will be back until the marathon.
Well, we love having you in Northern Ireland. Thanks for being here today.
I love it. Very nice people, very nice town. I like it. Antrim marathon.
Great to have you here. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Well done. Thank you.
So the women's winner there, Yellam Zerif Law, talking to Stephen Watson. Scott is still with me. We've been deserted. Everybody's gone and left us here. Scott, it's just I'm just wondering, did you get the pacing wrong in the end? With the first 5K of the course, excuse me, newly designed, taking out the harbour bit downhill from the start, or was that world record always really going to be out of reach?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, the course has got quicker, and I think it's one of these races where experience does help. You've seen the 2 winners today; they've both run this race before, and so it's about knowing when to push and when to hold back. And that first 5K was probably a little bit aggressive. Probably cost them in the latter stages. But I also think a factor was both pacemakers for the men's and women's race. They kind of stopped probably a little bit sooner than we expected, and probably at one of the worst points in the race as well. As you're heading up towards Ballygally, we saw Roy, the women's pacer, drop out, and she still had Callum there, but obviously Callum's got his own race to run. So I think that did affect the times a little bit. Perhaps next year we can get some pacemakers back in, and hopefully they can go to at least 15k, and I think that will really help see some fast times.
I think we're going to see the men's results now. And Yamal Ymer, 59.03, outstanding from Ymer. That smashed that all-comers record, UK all-comers record of 59.10 by Jeffrey Camilwar from Cardiff in 2016, and the Ireland all-comers record, which was Mo Farah at this event 2 years ago. Alfred Ngano, a really good, strong run from him in second place. Shadrach Kimmening in third, and Tesh Fahun Alcanu in 4th place. A good run from Mark Scott in 5th, and Callum Hawkins there in 7th place in 64.03, and he'll be very pleased with that. He's courting a lot of interest at the finish line here, giving some quotes to the assembled media, Scott, and there'll be a lot of interest in Callum as the year goes on, because when he's at his best, he is still Britain's top marathon runner.
Absolutely. I think it's a very good step today towards coming back to full fitness. Not sure what the rest of the year entails. If I was to put any money on it, I don't think he'd run a marathon before the end of the year. He'd probably focus more on the shorter distances before looking ahead to Paris in 2024, which will obviously be the goal for him in terms of the marathon. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where he goes from here and where he races next.
And we should say it's a personal best for Ngano in 2nd place there for the men's race as well. I think we can take a look at the results from the women's race. And Yellam Zerif Law, of course, winning in a time of 64 minutes 21 seconds ahead of Teshai Kamanchu. Beatrice Mutai, I think that's tremendous from Mutai, 35 years old, to finish in 3rd. And then behind, well, those times will please Fionnuala Ross from Northern Ireland there, leading the leading home nations runner there in 4th place ahead of Kate Drew, and you know, again, some of those will be personal bests. Scott, some will be more disappointed than others. But again, when you look at the top of the leaderboard there, and the race that Yellamsarf Yule all ran there for almost half the race, she was on or under world record time, but to come home with that UK and Ireland all-comers record, tremendous.
Yeah, especially the way she ran it. You know, she was pretty much solo for the second half of that race, and just looking at the whole women's results there, you know, there was large gaps in the time. So a lot of those women were, you know, probably running on their own. Perhaps had a little bit of help from some men that would have been around them, but yeah, certainly some very impressive performances today.
Well, of course, many of the elite runners just finishing off, but this is only the first race today, of course. We have the mass start coming up for you, and we'll have coverage of that coming up at 11 o'clock this morning. But we're going to leave you for the moment with some beautiful shots of the gorgeous east coast of Northern Ireland as the runners continue to file through the finish line. And we'll be back with you again just before the start of that mass race. At 11 o'clock. It will be live on the BBC iPlayer, on the BBC Sport website, and we look forward to your company as we watch some really decent runners, some really good club runners take on this course in around, well, as I say, in around 40 minutes time. We'll be back then, but from myself for the moment, we'll leave you with, as I say, some of the runners from the elite race finishing off. We'll be back shortly. Cheers, we'll be back shortly.